What is going on with the price of gold and silver? We've got some big stories developing right now that we need to talk about. A few of them are just interesting, but a couple are downright horrifying. They scare me, and I want to share them with you in this video. But first, what's going on with the price of the metals today? The price of gold down, then it shoots up and then crashes back down. Was it our friends in Canada announcing their surprise rate hike? What caused such dramatic move in the price of gold? If you know, leave it in the comments so we can share it with one another. But I think it's so important for us to remember when it comes to the price of silver, when it comes to the price of gold that we're experiencing right now. Right? Let's just look at gold. Gold is the granddaddy. Silver is like the favorite child, right? Silver always follows gold. And gold for the last month, the last maybe 2 months, has been trading in a range between $2,050 per ounce and about $1,950, where we're holding on right now. The longer we can stay in this range, the longer gold can remain strong and build this strong base. It's tried to break through to new highs, but next time it breaks through, I'm not big on technical analysis. Maybe you are, right? There's all types of technical patterns and chart reading. But when it breaks through next time, we're likely to head to new all-time highs. That's why I'm calling for $2,200 gold by the end of June. You can scoff at me all you like. But I think June is going to play out to be a very good month for the price of precious metals. I also see silver breaking out and going as high as $29. You don't have to agree with me, right? That's how we learn. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let us know where you think the price of gold and silver are going to be in about, 24, 26 short days from now at the end of June. But I think there's some big stories developing. We're going to talk about them in this video. Don't forget, there's a couple things that are very frightening going on in the world right now, and we're going to touch on that as well. Right now, I need to recognize, and I've heard this from a few of you in the comment section, and I've heard other commentators now talking about it as well. We were so programmed about this debt limit. You know, the mainstream media was feeding you all this information about how it was going to be the end of the world, right? It was, if they didn't get the debt limit situation rectified, it was going to be a catastrophe. There would be no food in the grocery stores, right? It would be a depression. I heard it all, and it was all being pumped for weeks through the mainstream media. Then it got resolved, but they forgot to focus on one very important factor. And quite honestly, I forgot to focus on this as well, but now I'm hearing it getting more and more attention. Guys, sit down. If you haven't realized this, they didn't just raise the debt ceiling, they suspended the debt ceiling. There's a huge, huge difference in that, okay? They didn't just say, oh, we'll let you spend another $2 trillion. No, they suspended the debt ceiling, meaning, as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, and from what I'm reading and what I'm being told from my inside sources, that means that they can spend as much money as they want through January 2025. Now, isn't it interesting that that's after the next presidential election? I heard a couple people say, like, I can't believe the Republicans let that fly. That gives the government, like, the ability, if they need to, of course, you know, if something were to come up, to spend as much money as they want through 2025. That means, yes, money printing. I'm not going to get my Jerome in the box out yet. You're going to have to wait for that. But money printing, right? I mean, on top of that, and we're not going to talk about this for a long time, but it is so important for us to remember, the Treasury has to refinance 30% of the United States debt. 30% of the 32 trillion comes due in the next 12 months. And it's going to be refinanced at much higher rates. They're going to be borrowing more money to pay the interest on the money they've already borrowed. It's turning into a Ponzi hamster wheel cluster bomb. See, I don't use curse words on this channel, and I appreciate that you don't as well. Nonetheless, and all that money is going to get sucked out of the economy. Now, some of you, I've been harassed, I guess you would say. Some of you saying, "Oh no, that's not going to take money out of the economy." I think it is, and from what I read from other top analysts, they believe it is as well. That trillion and a half, whatever the amount's going to wind up being, is going to get sucked out. It's the equivalent of another 0.25% interest rate hike by the Fed. I don't think the Fed's going to raise rates on June 14th. Okay, we're going to talk about that later. It's going to be a happy day for silver and gold investors. We will have a live stream on that day. I will eat crow if I'm wrong. I'm often wrong, but I'm usually right. So stay tuned and we'll see what happens with that. So important to remember when we're talking about silver, when we're talking about gold. We need to add this to our checklist. The world central banks are buying gold and silver at a record pace. Okay? You've heard it now for the 16th time, but you need to let that sink in. What are the world central banks doing? They're buying gold and silver. Mic drop, right? You might have all these different fancy charts and everything else. What are the guys that unfortunately run the show? What are they doing? They're buying gold and silver. Don't forget about that. CoinShop Chris, my good friend and big contributor to the channel, brought up a good point. Sent me a very interesting article. The economy's so great, right? Right? Well, what are we gonna do when we go into recession? What are we gonna do? Things get rough. The economy's so great. And then we got this article here. From Party City to Bed Bath & Beyond, bankruptcies just hit their highest level since the Great Recession. Let me repeat that. Bankruptcies just hit their highest level since the Great Recession. This is from MSN. Corporate bankruptcies just hit their highest level since 2010, according to new data. This year's bankruptcies include Party City, Serta Simmons, the mattress maker. Don't people that's always here, but you remember we used to hear that all the time. Oh, during recessions, people buy beer, buy Anheuser-Busch stock, or, people always need new mattresses. Serta Simmons, bankrupt. And of course, the parent company of Silicon Valley Bank. Now, that's on top of what we're hearing from insiders at Costco. People aren't buying steak. Now, they can't afford it. So what are they buying? Chicken, pork, and what else? Canned meat. And the CFO of Costco during the third quarter conference call said, any other time we've seen this type of pattern in consumer behavior has meant a recession. What's Jerome going to do? What's Jerome going to do? What about Home Depot? Just a few weeks ago, they told us about their sales going down. People aren't spending. They don't have the extra money to spend on a new floor for their kitchen. Do you have money to spend on a new floor for your kitchen? Don't tell Susie I have money to spend on a new floor for the kitchen. Please, right? Lowe's, same thing. Target, same thing. Walmart. I don't know about their sales, but they're saying they have to raise prices, right? Because now nobody can afford to shop anywhere else, and they don't want to go to Target for a number of reasons. But nonetheless, people are going to Walmart. Walmart's like, well, we're going to raise food prices. What's this going to mean? Bankruptcies, higher prices, right? That means a slowing economy, and that means inflation. I got to get Jerome out. Do you guys want to see Jerome? Just briefly. Jerome's itching to say hi. This is my Jerome in a box. It says do not open, but I always do. Hey, everybody, it's Jerome. There's his unicorn, right? There's his credit card. Hey, Jerome's going to be in a situation with a recession and inflation, and he's in a box. What's he going to, if he's going to fight the recession, what's he going to do to fight the recession? Ease monetary, print money, right? What happens when he prints money? That makes inflation worse. So then inflation gets worse. And he's like, well, I can't print so much money. I need to tighten up. So he tightens up. What does that do? that slows the economy more. It becomes a woof, 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 a debt spiral or a bad situation, a bad situation. Furthermore, this is critical for you to understand. This is downright scary. The statistics, whatever it is, 16%, 22%, 12%, too big of a percent of companies in the United States are called zombies, right? God, Susie used to watch that show. What's it called? Walking Dead. Drove me crazy. I'd come home from work and Walking Dead. It's a zombie show. We got zombie companies in the United States. What does that mean? That means whatever percentage it is, 12, 15, 20% of the companies, the only reason they survived over, let's say, the last 15 years is because of a zero interest rate environment. They were able to keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing, kind of like the United States government does. You can't blame the companies for doing it, but that's how they survived, right? And now that we're in an environment with much higher rates, they can't do that anymore. And they've built up all this debt. These zombie companies you talk about, we could see a wave of, bankruptcies coming through. It could get downright ugly. A good old coin shop Chris, he came through for me again. Something else is happening, and we're not hearing a lot about this. I didn't hear about it. I kind of knew it was going on, but apparently the big ports on the West Coast, the workers aren't showing up for work. They're not officially on strike, but they're just not showing up for work, which I think it's kind of a nuance, the difference between those two things. And it's a big deal because all the goods are piling up in the port. Pretty soon you're going to go to Walmart. You're not going to go to Target because nobody goes to Target anymore, but you're going to go to Walmart or the Home Depot. And even though you're not going to spend as much money, there may not be as many goods on the shelves because listen to this, work stoppages at ports across the West Coast are stoking fear of a supply chain crunch that could ripple across the country. Dock workers have been no-showing for the last week as their union continues a contract negotiation with port management. More than 40% of the country's imported goods are filtered through the West Coast ports. Okay, wow. So we aren't going to have a supply of cheap goods coming from China, right? What's the dollar or the $1.25 store? What do you think they're going to do? What do you think Walmart? What do you think Target, Home Depot, all these big stores, right, that are already struggling? What do you think they're going to do? They're going to have to raise prices, right? Supply and demand. They'll say, well, we only have 60% of the goods that we thought we were going to have, so we'll charge 20% more. That's what we're going to have to do. This could stoke, it's called supply side. We aren't a fancy economics channel, but inflation can be caused by two things, right? Printing money is one, but the other is called supply side inflation, when there just isn't a supply of goods. No matter how much or how little, that provides fuel for inflation, and that could definitely happen. Hey, thank you guys for being here. I forgot to tell you that. You are the most important part of Ron's Basement. There's no group, there's no community unless you decided to show up right now. Today, we love to talk about precious metals, ways to protect ourselves, right? We love to talk about the stories going on in the world. You're smarter than the average bear, right? That's a fact, right? You like to dig a little deeper, pull your head out of the sand, look around, you're in the right place. It's really helpful when you give this video a thumbs up. And if you could please subscribe, easy for me to say, subscribe. If you haven't already, that would be much, much appreciated. But number one, first and foremost, thank you for being here. You are always welcome in the basement. So yeah, I don't know, I'll tell you let me back up. Maybe we don't have to worry about the ports being shut down because we got some shocking economic news out of China. China's the second largest economy in the world. You can use that at your next cocktail party. And official trade data released Wednesday added to the concerns, today is Wednesday, by the way, around the post-pandemic recovery in China, the world's second biggest economy, which have weighed on global markets. China's exports, right? That's what they do. They export. People buy from Germany, United States, all over the world. China makes it, and they export it. Pretty simple. China's exports slumped 7.5% from a year ago in May. Okay? This May, almost 8% lower exports than compared to last year. That's a big decrease, guys. That's a massive decrease. And economists were only expecting a less than 1% decline. So maybe we don't have to worry about the ports there's nothing coming over, right? Everybody's running out of money. I don't know. It's going to get very interesting. Also, when it comes to gold and silver, if you're in Turkey, all right, I don't know how many of you guys are in Turkey right now, but if you're in Turkey and you've been in Turkey for the last year, you're darn happy that you own silver and gold. You are. You know why? Because just overnight, Turkey's lira plunged 7% to a record low in its biggest daily sell-off since a historic 2021 crash. A move traders said is a strong signal that they're moving their money towards 7%. If you're in Turkey, and let's say you had your money in the Turkish lira, you woke up this morning and it was worth 10% less. What do you think happened to the price of silver? What do you think happened to the price of gold priced in Turkish lira? They're protected. That's why we say, do you have gold, right? Do you have gold? Gold. We got a lot more to talk about. We haven't even talked about, there's some horrific things going on in the world right now. Of course, the mainstream media is not going to talk about it, right? They're not going to talk about it, but, we'll talk about it right here. We're going to get to that in a second. Let me go grab my notes, okay? And I'm going to be right back. When I'm gone, everybody say something to the bear. He wants to hear from you. That bear. All right, I'm coming back. I hope the bear was behaved when I was gone. Nothing scares me, all right? Like the prospect of real world war. The bear's doing shots. Yeah, the bear has a drinking problem. I quit drinking and the bear started drinking. Hey, yes, I do run and vape off camera. Yes, I don't want to do it in front of you guys. I need a little break. It's been 20 minutes, okay? I'm not going to lie to you. I will never lie to you. But nothing scares me, right? The idea of actual, and in America, we've never really lived through any type of violent situation where we were attacked or anything like that. But the world is, with technology, it gets scary, right? So when I hear about this Ukrainian dam being blown up, it's a big deal, right? Now, we buy gold and silver to protect ourselves. We buy the precious metals to protect ourselves against currency devaluation, against major geopolitical risk. And I think it's vastly under accounted for in the current silver price and gold price, the level of geopolitical risk that we are living under. It's called the Kakhovka Dam, right? And this is a big deal. Somebody blew it up, but nobody knows who. Nobody wants to take responsibility, okay? Flooding, devastation, destruction. I know you're like me. We're empathetic people. I know that, the people that come under Ron's basement. Not a good thing. Okay, a lot of people, their homes, their businesses, the pictures, it's horrifying what's going on over there. But nobody knows who did it. Somehow, right? The Russians are blaming the U.S. The U.S. is blaming the Russians. One thing we know for sure, it's a major escalation in the situation in Ukraine. And one thing we know for sure, silver and gold provide protection when we have major geopolitical strife, right? What do you think about that? Let me know in the comments. Let's touch on gold being used by criminals. I cannot resist sharing this with you guys again, right? Gold has been vilified. A coordinated effort, precious metals, right? This used by pirates and organized crime. Remember Al Capone's vault? Do you remember that? Remember that show from what was that guy's name? Geraldo Rivera. During the 80s, where he was going to break into Al Capone's vault and everybody thought there'd be gold in there and there was nothing in there. It's always been vilified. Don't forget, right? And we laugh about this. Yes, maybe the criminals are buying gold because the world central banks are buying gold at a record pace. Went full circle on that one, didn't I? Hey, June 14th is D-Day. There is no bigger day for silver and gold investors right now. 1 week from today. I'm predicting a pause. I'm predicting a strong price move in silver and gold in the wake of an announcement of a pause. Like we talked about earlier, the Treasury Department sucking all this liquidity out of the system, that's the equivalent of another 0.25% rate hike anyway. We've got China slowing down. We've got a fragile, delicate banking system here in the United States. I foresee the U.S. always, our central bank, our friend Jerome Powell, are always at the forefront of these things. I foresee them pausing, right, and leading the trail. You don't have to agree with me. I could be dead wrong, but that's what I see. Now it's time, guys, let's go through some comments. If you have any specific questions right now, all caps, anything you want me to comment on, all caps, please. And don't forget, okay, guys, if you could please give this a thumbs up. When I get to 100 thumbs up, I ring the bell 10 times, right? The bell, that bell. So much fun, I know. Oh, the other thing we got to talk about. There's this recent news story surrounding UFOs. David Grush did an interview with News Nation claiming he's a whistleblower and that the government has UFOs and that they've been studying these spacecraft that came from outer space for decades. What do you think about that? Some people think it's a distraction, right? That there's so much. I mean, is that what's going on? Are they distracting us? Because there's going to be some, who knows, CBDC rollout. I mean, there's all types of theories being floated out there. But this guy claims that our government has retrieved flying spacecraft that came from other planets, other places, and has been studying them for decades, and that it's all been kept under the wraps. I don't know. It sounds very interesting. Again, the guy's name is David Grush, and I haven't had a chance to watch the full interview yet, but it's on a channel called News Nation. I'm sure you can Google it and find it for yourself. Neil, somebody just said UFOs are made of platinum. That's funny. Laffy Taffy. So far, you get the funny comment of the day award. Blaine says precious metals held down so real value, the U.S. dollar remains hidden. Ron, we've been here for a while. Roswell. Oh boy, look over there. For whatever reason, it's only to distract. Seems to be working. Yeah, I got to work yesterday. I have a wonderful coworker, and her husband's a very smart guy. And she said, my husband said, what were we talking about? We were talking about another issue that's gaining a lot of attention. She said that he said that they're just doing that to distract us from the crappy situation that's going on. And I said, yeah, I agree. Absolutely. She said, do you think my husband's right? And I said, well, of course. Antarctica's melting. Buy honey. Yeah, the bear would like that. UFOs are made of. Come on, guys, I'm ready for you. Hey, where are you? I haven't done this for about a week. Where are you joining me from today? Huh? If you tell me where you're joining me from, I will sit here for as long as I need to. I will read your name and say hello. Okay? He said, she said, fat penguins. How much gold is there? Oh boy, Chicago, Gerald Draper, Crunk Coin Shop Chris is on the moon. Emegars in Iceland, eat platinum chicken, says C-130. Okay, East Tennessee for silverback gorillas. James Berryhill is in Cincinnati. No, the bear is not related to the President G. I'll leave it at that. South Carolina, Papa Strategy. David Metcalf, New Mexico. Awesome. South Africa, Johan. Good to have you. Bangkok, Andy Parker. Sharon's in Missouri. Cody Coors in Idaho. Look at where we're from. Thomas Toops in Mississippi. Low blood pressures in Corpus Christi. Marshmaz, British Columbia. Canada, Swaziland. San Diego, Laffy Taffy. Krypton, Jim Tillypow. California, Cat Kaufman. Central Kentucky, Paul Beeler. Oof, you guys are wearing me out. Petaluma, California for Sassy Silver. Driving a truck through South Dakota. Charlie, drive safe, my friend. Hello from Silicon Valley. Do you think silver will be confiscated? No. I'll touch on that in a minute. Smoke-filled New York from Quebec. Yeah, what is going on with that? I guess there's smoke all over the country. Vallejo, California, our friend Neil Hahn Dynasty, the platinum guru. Utah, Metal Bull. You guys are wearing me out. Minnesota, Jamie. No confiscation necessary. Victoria, Texas, 2003 Debo. Wow, you guys, Southwest Florida. Sweden. Welcome, Albin. John Sal says hello. Hello, John Sal. Will they confiscate your silver and gold? No, they don't have to. And the bald guy made a video that brought up a very interesting point, and I made a video kind of building upon that and adding my own thoughts and commentary. There's a big key to remember. They don't have to They confiscated gold because back then they had to have gold and silver in order to print more money, right? In 1933, President Roosevelt, he had to have gold to print more money during the Great Depression. Ask your granny and grandpa about it, okay? They don't need gold to print more money now. They can actually print money and just buy gold. Right? Whatever physical's left out there and or silver. So, you can't rule anything out. And I don't have a crystal ball. I only have an opinion. However, I don't foresee that we're going to be in a situation where silver and gold are going to be confiscated again. Can't rule it out, but, seems very unlikely. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. You are the best. Okay, and I will see you next time.